Hey everyone, I'm Alex. This is Big Al Books, and today I'm going to be talking about Buddenbrooks by Thomas Mann. He's one of those authors that I've been meaning to read for a long time, and I've kind of been putting it off. But I thought Buddenbrooks would be the best place to start because this is Thomas Mann's first novel. As well, it's a multi-generational family saga, and I always do enjoy those, and this was no exception. Buddenbrooks was published in 1901, so it's one of those turn-of-the-century novels, and it provides a pretty decent look back and a good overview of German history from the second half of the 1800s. As well, I think it's worth mentioning that Thomas Mann was 25 years old when he published this book, and as someone who is about to be turning 25 in a few weeks, I find that profoundly depressing because not only is this like a hella long 700-page book, it is so mature. There is so much wisdom, and it's such a great book that I'm very, I don't know, having a little crisis about what I've accomplished with my life at 25.
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
Anyway, going back to the book, the full title is Buddenbrooks: The Decline of a Family, and I think that tells you everything that you need to know. At the start of the novel, the family that we are introduced to are this happy and prosperous merchant family, and they are just moving into this big, beautiful new house, and they're having a party on their first night in this house, and everyone's happy, and they're toasting to their success, and it's a grand old time, and you know that there is nowhere to go but down from there. So everything that follows after is all pretty calamitous. We have a lot of illness in the family, bad business decisions, terrible marriages, so much tooth decay, political upheavals. This is a family that is on a downward spiral, and the weird part about that is that this is heavily based off of Thomas Mann's own family. This book apparently caused quite a few shockwaves in Thomas Mann's hometown when it came out, because apparently there are quite explicit parallels between the Buddenbrooks and Thomas Mann's own family. Quite a few of the characters in this book are based off people in his own family, and even the house that they move into is a real place in Germany, so you can look up on Google the house that you're reading about in here. So I find it strange to be writing about your own family in such a tragic tone. I mean, he's not writing about how weird and funny his family is. I mean, he is writing about that they are deeply troubled, in decline, and basically beyond repair. All that being said, this book was still more subdued than I was expecting it to be. When I read Decline of a Family, I was expecting some kind of epic demise, and this really isn't all that dramatic or intense. In fact, the narrator is quite matter of fact. So, you go through the cycle of life for this family. One day it's going to be Christmas, one day this person's going to die. There's not really a great change in tone, in spite of how different these events are from each other. One of the questions that I was asking myself a lot was, should I be feeling sorry for this family? I mean, is their decline tragic and out of their control? Or did it come about through some flaw in the family character? For example, some of them rest upon the reputation of the family name, and instead of learning how to innovate and change with the time, they kind of rely on what their family did in the past. It's very interesting to see how the generations of the family change and different morals and values change. One of the girls of the family, Tony, enters into two pretty bad marriages, and it's quite telling to see how different family members in different generations handled the situation. So the first time that Tony's first marriage falls apart, her dad comes, and it's almost a tender moment of him wanting to be there for her. He doesn't want to influence her either way, but he definitely wants to get her out of that bad situation and take her back home where she's always welcome. When her second marriage goes to ruin, her brother Thomas, who's now the patriarch of the family, is like, well, basically, go back home and deal with it. I don't want to cause a scandal. So that shows that there's a very different change in attitude and how the family cares for each other. Thomas Buddenbrooks is probably the most central character in this novel, and he's very frustrating. I mean, you can see in scenes like that how he treats his sister. He's an asshole a lot of the time. He's one of those people who, on the surface, looks like he's living a very full life. He's very successful at work, he has material wealth, he's got this beautiful family, But when we get to see what's going on in his interior state, he's often very depressed and empty on the inside. He often reflects on success and how he can never really enjoy it, as well as he says that anticipating something is a lot better than achieving it because reality makes everything less exciting. One of my favorite scenes in the novel happens basically when Thomas reaches the pinnacle of his success. He becomes a senator and he has this giant new house built for his family, and this is how he responds to reaching his life goals. I know that the external, visible, tangible tokens and symbols of happiness and success first appear only after things have in reality gone into decline already. Such external signs need time to reach us, like the light of one of those stars up there, which when it shines most brightly may well have already gone out, for all we know. I feel like that quote needs to get printed on the inside of graduation cards. I mean, let's forget about, oh, the places you'll go, and let's talk about how you've only just begun, but your life is already over and your star has already burnt out. Do you see what I mean about this being a dark as hell novel for a 25-year-old to be writing? Thomas Mann, where's your sense of optimism? I mean, World War I hasn't even happened yet. I feel like I'm worried for him, how the 20th century is really gonna crush his soul. The last Buddenbrooks character that we spend a lot of time with is little Johann, who's Thomas's son, and he's supposed to be the heir to the family business, but he turns out to be this kind of frail, artsy kid, so yeah, he definitely captured my heart. But I really enjoyed the passages that were about his life experiences because I think his place in the family lines up with Thomas Mann's place in his own family. So it just sounded like there was a lot of authenticity to the scenes that he was writing about. So they were often about these just little moments. They'd be about the excitement of Christmas in the family, or about how summer vacation would pass in the blink of an eye. There's one chapter in here near the end that's just kind of a day in the life of Johann going to school, and he went to the opera the night before, so he's unprepared and he didn't do his homework. And school in Germany at the time was really terrifying, and the teachers are just like so awful, and these kids are just like forced to memorize things and regurgitate it. So I really enjoyed a lot of those passages. I'm a little surprised I enjoyed this novel as much as I did. I mean, when I think about it, it's so long and repetitive and serious. I mean, funny moments are really few and far between in here. But that being said, I really liked this book a lot, and I had so many quotations to write down, so there's definitely some really beautiful writing going on in here. If you're on the fence about giving Buddenbrooks a try, I would recommend it for people who enjoyed the Makioka sisters, because it's kind of got that same slow-paced feel. As well, the Makiokas are a family who failed to adapt to the changing modern world, and they kind of rested on the past status of their family name. As well, William Faulkner was like a huge fan of Buddenbrooks, and he said it was like the best novel of the 20th century. So you can definitely see how he was inspired by this sprawling tale of this family in decline. He uses it in a lot of his own novels. You can especially see it in The Sound and the Fury. So I would totally recommend checking out Buddenbrooks if you are a William Faulkner fan. So those were my thoughts on Buddenbrooks. It's not a book that I hear a lot of people talking about, which I think is a shame because it's definitely a solid novel. But anyway, if you have any thoughts on it, I would love to talk about it. As well, if you've read anything else by Thomas Mann, I'm kind of deciding what I want to do next. I'm thinking it's going to be Death in Venice, but if you've read some of his other novels, I would love to hear what you thought of them. Anyway, that's it for today, and thank you for watching.